Good morning. My name is Mackenzie, and we're here with HIR Wellness Institute doing Zentangle. So here, I've got my little Zentangle thing that we finished up last week. Really like this piece. Very happy with how the beads turned out. There's a couple of them that have some little Zentangles in them, but for the most part, they're just solid colors, but still very, very cute. So today, I'm going to be doing everything in black and white. So I've got 3 different sized pens, and that's just what I have available to me. I also have my little ruler, and I have a pencil and an eraser, should I need them, but I don't expect, I think I'll need them. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm just going to use this as a straight edge, so you don't actually need anything that can measure. You just need something that's a solid edge, and you can freehand this, but I don't really like freehanding things, so that's why I choose to use a ruler. So I'm going to do a full page design for this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my straight edge here, and I'm just going to line it up in a corner. You know, you can do very even or kind of slanted. I'm going to go for this slanted look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pen, I'm just going to follow the straight edge to create a corner. I'm going to flip my paper and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to go around my whole paper and do this. Alright, so now that I've got to this point, I'm going to actually work in to fill in the areas where I don't have a corner to create new angles. So now all of the edge of my paper is covered with these little corner sections. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing a flat line over each of the corners here. So for every corner I have on my paper, I'm going to draw a line over it to create a new intersection. So there's my first one. Ugh. You probably want them to touch the last corner that they touched, because that's going to make it a little bit easier. So if I were to go over here, right? So these are the 2 corners of my last section. So I'm going to put my ruler over it. And we're going to draw a line connecting the 2 of them, like that. If I went here, that. So we just go around the whole area looking like that. This one's going to be a little bit funky, but that's okay. Same over here. But all I'm doing is I'm basically just cutting off the corners to create new intersections as I go along. So it doesn't really matter how you're going to do that. Because all of this is creating these different sections in the background, and that's what I want for this pattern. So as I get closer to the center here, I'm just going to take away my ruler because I'm feeling pretty confident I can do a line about this long by myself. Right, so this is going to create the base for my Zentangle. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to be drawing vertical lines. So it's not a really intensive Zentangle, and we're not doing a lot of thinking or a lot of really intense work here. We're just going to be drawing some lines, and that's going to be the really meditative part about this. So I'm going to start in the center, I'm going to work my way out. And I just chose a direction. I wanted to go, if there was a triangle shape, from the tip to the widest section. So I'm trying to kind of be parallel to the widest section. It's not true parallel, because I am getting some angles in there, but that's my intent. And I'm just going around, doing some lines. And as your sections get bigger, you'll notice that your lines start getting longer, obviously. And I enjoy that because, again, I find it very meditative. You know, it's very intentional to create a line that long and to work to try and make it straight. So it gives you focus and then let yourself breathe as you draw the line in and out. So my lines are kind of touching as I get to these longer ones. I'm just trying my best. You can always go back to the ruler, and I probably will at some point, just to help me get a couple of nice straight ones. We can see here what this is starting to look like, and it's almost illusionary because of all these different sections. They kind of start looking like steps as you go in and out. So I'm gonna try not to use my ruler, but I like having a space there to help me focus on a smaller section. It's kind of like creating a smaller section that helps you fill it in a little bit faster. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here. Just gives me the illusion that, you know, something, it's creating a smaller space so that I can focus a little bit better. I do this a lot in my Zentangle, but it helps with these really bigger spaces because I feel a little bit more successful when I do that. You know, like I'm getting things done a little bit faster. So this did what I was hoping it would do. You see here a lot of my lines are touching, and I do like that look. I think it's very pretty, but I wanted it to be more uniform like what was down here. So by putting the ruler in place, it helped me focus on what the straight line should look like as I was going through, instead of focusing on the little curved ones that I create. And that's all it is. I don't really dislike the curved lines. I just wanted some more straight lines as I go through this. It's kind of trippy because I don't have these guys filled in, so it feels like it's sticking out. So I'm gonna go do this guy. Alright, so there's that section. Getting out to the edges. So for this one, I'm going off the paper just because I find it difficult to start at the edge of a paper, because doing that tends to leave ink blots for me. So I like starting from on the paper and moving off the edge. This, of course, is difficult for me because both of them are free edges. This actually reminds me, it's a pretty common practice for people who do Zentangle, like as an art form that they want to sell or to hang up or something, for them to trim the edges of their Zentangles to prevent this kind of inking from showing up at the end. I used to do that with some of my pieces, specifically full page pieces like this. It's also really fun if you get a full page Zentangle, or even just any Zentangle that isn't specifically a pattern, you know, like drawing mushrooms or hats or something. If you get something that's more just doing the designs on a piece of paper, you can cut them into shapes and then use them for all sorts of things. I've used sheets full of Zentangle to wrap presents, or to be used as gift tags or letters, all sorts of different things. It's really versatile that way because like it feels very like random, but a lot of people really appreciate, you know, the amount of effort that you went through to do that kind of work. Even if you're just doing it meditatively, it's very impressive. Got all these markers on my table now. It's looking very pretty though. Yeah, I wrapped some of my dad's Christmas presents in it, and I was totally intending for him to just toss it when he was done. He ended up straightening out and saving it. I think it's still above his desk. It's kind of interesting because he never got it truly straight, so it's kind of like this crumpled ball where everything's kind of like crumpled on the inside. So it's just this ball with Zentangle on the inside of it. Now I'm just holding down my paper because it's a little warped at the edge here, so you can see it's kind of lifting to meet my pen, which creates those thicker lines. So pressing firmly helps with that. I do often add color. Let's see. see here. I wonder if I have any with me today. Yes, I do add color. We do a lot of these in color usually. Like, I've got one here where this is like all these different greens in them. I've got a ton of them in color. We usually do some in color, but I like doing the black and whites. I've recently just got into doing color Zentangle, specifically for these lives. And the black and white I think is just wonderful because you can do it anywhere. In terms of like, if you find a pen and you only have one color to work with, it could be red, it could be blue or orange. And you can make all of these designs doing that. And colored Zentangles are definitely gorgeous. I really love them. It's just, they're not as easy to do wherever you go. So I find myself always leaning towards this because I use Zentangle as a coping skill to help me calm down when I'm feeling really anxious or upset, or to help me process information in an intense situation. So, whoops, all right. That's how that corner looks. So I like both practices that way. All right. So there is this finished piece. I really like it. And if anyone was ever interested in doing like 3D portions, all you would have to do is take a pencil and then just go in here and then start shading in things very gently at different edges. And the trick to the shading would always be just to be consistent. So if you were going to do it under the ledge of something else, then you would just have to basically create a triangle and then shade that in here and do the same for the other edge. And then you could work your way up through the whole thing. That didn't come up nearly as well on camera as it did in person, but it's there, and that's generally how you do that. And then just using your finger to smudge in the pencil helps create those shadows again. Let's see here. Oh. Here's another example of colored ones. This one's black and white. Here we go. This is a great example. So this one we used colors and it helped emphasize all the different designs. So here we use the same parallel lines and it creates a very cool effect, but by doing it in color, you can definitely create very different patterns. I mean, all of these patterns look so radically different when done in black and white. All right, so I've got another piece of paper. Let's see here. Yep, so we're gonna do another black and white one. And I'm gonna start with my ruler to create a couple of straight edges again. And for this one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a line straight across the paper. So whatever direction I'm going in, I'm just gonna try and go for it. My ruler's a little short though, so I'm gonna not necessarily go full lengthwise across the paper. The purpose here is just to create some smaller triangle shaped sections. So here are my triangle shaped sections. Now I'm going to take a smaller pen. So I used a pretty big one to set it up, so it's really thick in comparison to this pen. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at what I would conceive as a corner. There are obviously 3 corners to start with, but I'm going to start with a narrow corner. And I'm going to start drawing loops. So I'm going to start at one edge of the triangle and draw up, and then bring it back down. Up, bring it back down. Whoop, and down. And I'm just trying to keep the arch about the same, and I want them all going in the same direction, so I'm not going to draw a loop going that way and then another going that way. I roughly want them all going in the same direction. Alright, so I ran out of section over here to continue doing the loop like that, but I'm just going to try by just putting in some lines there to show that I'm going to come back over here and then continuing those loops. So the natural progression of that would be I start here, draw, pick up my pen, and then continue back in here. Alright, so that is how my section's gonna look. And I'm just gonna keep doing that for all of my different triangles. So up. So this isn't necessarily supposed to create a very interesting design when you're done, but I still love the illusionary effect of it. So I'm having fun over here. Alright, so I do have all of these, and I think I'll continue doing it so that it's in this corner, because it's going to create kind of this flower shape. But I'm going to go over to this one right here. I'm going to start doing this one. So I am going out towards the edges, and that's just because I don't like trying to go in from the edges. So last one in my flower. We have a cat visitor. Come here. This is my kitty. His name is Jim. He's very interested in what we're doing today. Alright. Oh, he's trying to get his head in the marimo balls. See, we've got some aquatic marimo balls. So these little guys that live in water. We've got like a dozen of them now, I think. Alright. The cats try and drink from them a lot. So we have to use weird shaped puddles with them now. Alright. See, he's right on the edge. I don't like doing these. But I do want here, so I'm just gonna try. See, because the paper lifts up at the edge, so I don't always get the line that I wanted when I do them. Last one. This is looking really nice so far. Alright, so there's this one to match with this one. I really liked how this one turned out. I didn't think I would as much because I've never done them with that deep of a curve before, but this one turned out very nice. This one turned out very nice. Surprises for the day. Pleasant surprises. Okay, so we're gonna do one more here. Showtime. Ah! Sorry, I wanted to check the time, so I looked at my music, and it went into an ad. Alright, so I'm gonna take another piece of paper. I'm just going to fold this one up. Alright, so for this one, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to create some vertical lines. I guess they're lines because you can always move your paper, so lines. And these lines are going to go up and down for me. So I'm just using the width of my ruler as a measurement. And again, you can always use any straight edge that you have available to you. This is just what I've got. Oops. Alright. So this would be one of those good ones to go in and then cut off that extra strip there so that it was completely uniform. I might actually do that later. I don't know though. So from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pen. It's really straightforward, nothing too difficult because this is about relaxing. It's a nice beautiful Saturday morning, no need to stress out. And I'm going to start at this second one here. And I'm just going to draw some parallel lines. And I like these kinds of designs because it's really easy to drop them and then just come back and start them up again. No need to get too stressed or too involved if you don't want it. It can be something that you're doing while you're watching TV, while you're sitting in an office. Very straightforward, very easy to replicate. So now I'm going to skip one. I'm going to go in my next set of lines. Alright, so I'm going to grab a pair of scissors now that I've finished this up, and I'm going to trim this a little bit. So I'm going to go in at this edge here, and I'm going to trim off this little piece. I'm going to go to the opposite edge because I want that black line to start us. So that is what my finished piece is going to look like, which I'm very happy with. I think it's a square, so that's cool too. This is great for putting in like a saying or something, and I kept thinking about that while I was finishing this up, so I am going to put in a couple of words here. And I'm going to take inspiration from one of my favorite writers, Miss Rebecca Sugar. And I'm going to put peace, so peace and love on peace and love on the planet Earth, which also showed up in one of her songs from the show Steven Universe. So I really like this piece. And I'm just going to take a different colored pen and then go over the blue here, trying to purposely create a shadow, but my mind is like, no, this is how you line up. So that typography is not what I thought it was going to be, but I'm pretty happy with it. Alright, so these are the pieces that we've done today. Woo. Thank you so much for joining me. Today has been a wonderful Zentangle with Jo Mackenzie from the HIR Wellness Institute. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you again next week at 10 a.m.